All right, Algebra 2, Illustrative Math, Unit 3, Lesson 8 is called Cubes and Cube Roots. All right, so our goal today is I can solve equations by cubing or finding cube roots. All right, remember cube means to a power of 3. All right, so how are these graphs the same? How are they different? Go ahead, pause the video, see if you can kind of come up with something. I think a lot of things here look the same. I would say that the right side here, this part looks pretty much the same. But then this part here looks like it's flipped. It's reflected across the x-axis. So that would be one thing that most people would probably notice. Some other things. Let's see here. They're definitely different because the parabola here on the left is always greater than or equal to 0. I have no negative values down here, whereas this one can be negative over here on the left side and greater positive on the right side. Some other things as I look at this, let's see here. The end behavior is obviously different. This one, left side goes up, right side goes up, left side down, right side up, different end behavior. Obviously, this looks like y equals x squared, and this looks like y equals x cubed. These are two different functions, one's squared, one's cubed. I would say they both go through 1, 1. They both go through, oh wait, that one goes through 2, 4, whereas here this goes through 2, 8. So some values are the same, like these two right here. These points here are the same, but then these points here are different. So really the right side isn't exactly the same. Same shape, general, same end behavior, but not the same, totally perfectly the same, because 2, 4 is over here, which my graph does not go through there. Okay. This one looks wider. Obviously, this is more steep. So a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. All right. All right, how many solutions are there to each of the following equations? Estimate the solutions from the graph of y equals x cubed. So when does x cubed equal 8? Well, 8 is right there, so it looks like I'm going to have one solution, okay? One solution, which would actually be x equals 2. X cubed equals 2. Again, one solution. This time it's going to be like, I don't know, can't really tell exactly, so I'll put an approximate 1.3, I guess. X cubed equals 0. That's right there. There's one solution. I guess I don't need to keep writing one solution. I'm just going to estimate what the solutions are. So this would be x equals 0. X cubed equals -8. So -8's here. Find the x. We're looking for x. So it looks like that it would be -2. And then x cubed equals -2. It's kind of going to be the same thing. Here's my point. Looks like it's -1.3. I guess I should have said approximately. Let me erase that. Because I don't really know. I'm just guessing. I don't know if it's -1.3 or -1.35. All right. All right. So this, use the graph of y, that should say equals square root of x. No, that should be cubed root. Cubed root of x to estimate the solutions to cubed root of x equals -4. Okay. So here's -4. Looks like it's a little bit past that negative 60. So I'm right here. I'm going to say negative 60 something, negative 63, negative 64. Now, here's where I want you to think about this here. If I were to plug this, remember this is x. Here's my equation here. If I were to say, what's the cubed root of negative 64? Does that equal, is cube root of negative 64 equal to negative 4? It is. Why? Because negative 4 cubed would give you negative 64. Okay, so that's how I know for sure it's negative 4. All right, so I guess this would be number 2 up here. Use the meaning of cube roots to find the exact solution. Okay, now what I could do here is if I have cubed root of, now I just kind of got lucky with my guess here. If I have the cubed root of x equals negative 4, if I cube both sides, a cube gets rid of a cubed root. So I'm just going to have x equals negative 4 cubed would be negative 64. Now, if you want to think of the cubed root of x as x to the 1/3, you could do that also. And when I cube the 1/3, I multiply my power, so I just get x, and that equals negative 64. All right, so let's see here. For number 3, find the solution to the, I should say cubed root, cubed root of x equals 3.5 using the meaning of cube roots. So I'm going to kind of do what I just did, and I'm going to cube both sides. All right, so I'm going to check that 3.5 cubed. This will be pretty much exact. I get 42.875. If I go backwards here, 3.5, here's 3. 3.5 is right here. And again, this isn't as accurate though, because it's hard to tell where you're at, but from my graph, it looks like it is, 42.875. I know the answer is that, so I'm kind of just using that. But if I were to go backwards and do the graph first, I probably would have guessed like 41, 42, 43. All right, so here's a bunch of equations. So without solving, identify 3 that you think would be the least difficult to solve and 3 that you think would be the most difficult. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. So I would say this one looks kind of crazy. So I'm gonna put an H for hard and an E for easy. Why would I say? Because I got a constant, and then a negative in front. That makes it a little crazy. This negative here, maybe that might make that a little hard. This one's got a lot of stuff going on here. We got 1, 2, 3 constants. The M is negative. I'd say that's probably hard. This one's probably easy because I just have to, I got my cubed root all by itself. Let's see here. And these look pretty easy too, because all I gotta do is move the negative 2 over to the right, move the 3 over to the right. I think these are pretty easy. All right, choose 4 and solve them. At least one should be from your least difficult list and one should be from your most difficult. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and do all of them. So if you don't want to watch me do all of them, you can just kind of fast forward and pick the ones you want. So ready? Here's the first one. So since my cubed root is by itself, I cube both sides. The cube gets rid of the cubed root. Okay, and there you go. And it's always a good idea to plug it back in and check. 23 plus 4 is 27. Cubed root of 27 is 3. It checks out. All right, so you can do this a couple different ways with this negative here. Some people like to divide by -1 to start because it's -1 times this. And then you could just cube both sides. And then the cube gets rid of the cubed root. A equals 1,000. Now what you could also do is cube both sides like that, we'll get 1,000. So then a negative, I'm sorry, be negative 1,000. Negative, so the cube gets rid of the cubed root, but then you have to cube the -1, so it becomes negative a. So then when you divide by -1, you still get the same answer. But this is really, if you think of it, it's like -1 cubed and the cubed root of a cubed. So this is how I got the -1a right there. All right, so this one I got to move the 4 over to the right. Then I can cube both sides. Let's see here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna move the w over to the right and move the 64 over to the left. That gets me right there. Okay, so I get -61 equals w. All right, move the 9 over to the right. Cube both sides. Cube gets rid of the cubed root. Let's see here. -9 cubed is -729. Right. Now, when you plug this in to check it, again, make sure you're thinking here. You can have negatives under cube roots and still get real solutions. This would be -9, because -9 times -9 times -9, 3 of them would give me -729. So you get the 0, checks out, 0 equals 0. All right, on to the next one. This one's pretty easy. Just cube both sides. Don't have to move anything around. Just make sure you get that cubed root all by itself first, okay? Oh, shoot, this is going to be hard because I'm going to actually have to do 2 things here. So, ooh, shoot, I get r cubed equals 27. Now I got to undo the cube, so I'm going to have to cube root both sides here, which is kind of crazy. So I get r equals 3. Okay? And again, plug it in to check. Make sure it's right. Did I put that as an easy one? Let me go back and look. I didn't put it as anything, but yeah, that would probably be a hard one because you got to do 2 there. So, all right. So don't start cubing things until you get your cube root all by itself. So minus the 5. Divide by -1. Now I can cube both sides. And then subtract the 1. There you go. All right. Let's see. Again, get the cube root by itself. Add 2 to both sides. Cube both sides. Cube cancels out the cube root. And there we go. 23. All right, so I could subtract 6 and then divide by -1, but it's probably just easier to move this whole thing over to the right so that it's positive. And then I can cube both sides to get rid of the cube root. And you get 216. All right, isolate the cube root, so I subtract 3. Those cancel out, so I'm left with 2n equals 5, negative 512. So then I got to divide by 2 at the end. And we get to negative 256. Kind of a lot going on here, but actually not too bad. Add the 4 and the 4 because they're on the same side. Move the 8 over so I can combine that with the 6. Cube both sides. And then at the end, you got to divide by negative 1 because we want m, we don't want negative m. We could cube both sides, just make sure you cube the negative. I think it's probably easier just to divide by negative 1, though. I get negative 125 right there. What do I got? All right, almost done. Last one. Move the 3 over. I'm ready to cube both sides. Move the 7 over by adding. And there you go. So they were all, I don't know if I would say any of them are harder than the others. They were all kind of the same. All right. Lesson synthesis. What are some differences between the graphs of y equals x squared, y equals x cubed, and what do those differences say about the solutions to equations like x squared equals 5, x squared equals negative 5, x cubed equals 5, x cubed equals negative 5. So the cubed graph and the squared graph. So y equals x squared looks like that. Y equals x cubed looks like that. So, this thing here, it goes, the origin is kind of like right at the vertex there. And then this thing here, the origin is kind of right there in the middle. So when you're looking at the solutions to y equals x squared, when you have x squared equals negative 5, you could tell, oh, right here, down here at negative 5, it's never going to go through this parabola. So, without even doing anything, this would be no solution. X squared equals 5. Oops, I skipped that one. 5's up here, so it's going to actually hit it twice when you intersect it. You see that 2 times. So this would have 2 solutions. I don't know what they are. X cubed equals 5. 5's up here. It's going to intersect it just once, so this would be 1 solution. And same thing here, negative 5 would be down here, so it would intersect it just 1 time at negative 5, so that would be 1 solution. So you can figure it out from the graph. Write an equation involving a cube root for your partner to solve, and then explain how you solved their equation. So x plus 2 minus 1 equals 10. How's that? So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate my cube root. Then I'm going to cube both sides to get rid of the cubed root. 11 cubed. Don't know that one off the top of my head. 1331. And then I'm going to do any remaining algebra to get x by itself. And there we go. Okay. All right, so our goal today, I can solve equations by cubing or finding cube roots. I think we did a lot of that, and I think you should be good with that. Find the solutions to each of these equations or explain why there is no solution. All right. Cube both sides. There we go. Now, cube roots can equal negative. If this was a square root by itself equal to a negative, this would be no solution because you can't have a square root equal negative. And again, think about your square root graph. It starts at the origin and goes up. There's no negatives down here. So a square root graph here, if I had y equals square root of x, can't equal a negative. So that wouldn't work. But a cubed root can, because a cubed root graph looks like that. Okay. Also, notice I didn't check any of these with the cube root because you don't really get extraneous solutions with cubed roots, because think about your horizontal lines, they'll always intersect it somewhere. Unlike the square root ones, I might have a line down here that doesn't intersect it, or like even your parabola one here, you might have a line down here that doesn't intersect. So those ones you can get no solution. But with these ones, not so much. So I'm going to cube both sides. So I get y minus 8 equals negative 1. Add 8, and I get y equals 7. Okay. And you can plug it in to check it if you want. So, all right. I think that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and thank you for watching.